You know, obviously, there's been a lot in the news over the last couple of weeks. The events of the last few weeks have shown us that the stakes in this election could not be higher. They were in a financial crisis as serious as any that we faced since the Great Depression. In recent weeks, we've seen our financial landscape shift before our eyes. We've seen a growing credit crunch put new pressure on banks and businesses and families. On Monday, we saw the single largest decline of the stock market in 2 decades. A decline that threatens not just the wealth of Wall Street executives, but the life savings and the jobs and the economic security of millions of ordinary Americans. Everywhere you look, the economic news is troubling. But for so many of you here in Michigan, it isn't really news at all. I mean, 600,000 jobs have been lost since the beginning of the year, including about 30,000 here in Michigan. The unemployment rate here in Grand Rapids and other parts of this state is nearly double what it is across the country. And a new jobs report's coming out tomorrow that experts predict will show our 9th straight month of job loss. 9 straight months of job loss. Yet just 2 weeks ago, John McCain said the fundamentals of the economy were strong. I don't know what yardstick Senator McCain uses, but where I come from, there's nothing more fundamental than a job. Giving the average Fortune 500 CEO a $700,000 tax cut at a time when millions of Americans are struggling to pay their bills. How else could you come up with an economic plan that leaves out more than 100 million middle-class families at the very moment they need help the most? Senator McCain just doesn't get it. Well, Michigan, you get it. And I get it. That's why we're here today. We know the next 4 years don't have to look like the last 8. We know we can steer ourselves out of this crisis because that's who we are. Because this is America. We're a nation that's faced down war and depression, great challenges and great threats. And at each and every moment, we've risen to meet these challenges because we've never forgotten that fundamental truth that here in this country, our destiny is not written for us, it's written by us. And it is time to take our destiny into our own hands once again and reclaim our economic future. A part of what that means is passing the rescue plan that's before Congress. I know many people were outraged when this administration initially asked the American people to sign a blank check to solve this crisis, and I was outraged too. And that's why I fought to make sure the rescue plan protects taxpayers, provides oversight and accountability, helps struggling homeowners stay in their homes, doesn't reward the Wall Street executives whose greed and irresponsibility led us into this perilous moment. While these taxpayer protections are now part of the rescue plan, this plan still isn't perfect. It isn't what we have to do to prevent a crisis from turning, it is what we have to do to prevent a crisis from turning into a catastrophe. But understand, even with this plan, we may face a long and difficult road to recovery. And that's why, if I'm president, passing this rescue plan won't be the end of what we do to strengthen our economy. It's just the beginning of what we need to do to strengthen our economy. That's what we're going to do when I'm president of the United States, you and me working together. Now, to create new jobs, we'll not only invest in rebuilding our crumbling roads and bridges, our outdated electricity grid, we are going to strengthen the auto industry that built the middle class in this century. The number of auto companies are showing real leadership in building fuel-efficient cars, and I applaud them for it. But I refuse to accept that Washington has to stand idly by while foreign automakers outpace us. I'm running for president to make sure the cars of the future are made in the same place they've always been made, right here in Michigan. We're going to open up old plants that used to just make steel. Now they're going to be making wind turbines. We're going to open up other plants to make solar panels. We will invest in the R&D so that the batteries that these new electric cars need are made right here in Michigan, working with our top flight universities. We can look at family farms and say, grow switchgrass, and we're going to create cellulosic ethanol for the alternative fuels of the future. When John F. Kennedy said we are going to the moon in 10 years, the engineers didn't know quite how to get there. But they understood that when America puts its mind to it, we can do it. So I'm here to tell you today that in 10 years' time, we are going to end our dependence on Middle Eastern oil. And Michigan is going to be one of the keys to making it happen. Right here in Grand Rapids, right here in Michigan, right here in the United States. I will eliminate capital gains taxes for small businesses and startups so that we can grow our economy and create the high-wage, high-tech jobs of tomorrow. I will cut taxes. Listen here, because you guys are being fed these ads that don't tell the truth. I will cut taxes for 95% of all working families. My opponent doesn't want you to know this, but under my plan, tax rates will actually be less than they were under Ronald Reagan. If you make less than $250,000 a year, let me show of hands. How many people make less than $250,000 a year? All right. Well, I'm talking to you then. You will not see your taxes increase one single dime in an Obama administration. 95% of you will see your taxes go down. In fact, I offer 3 times the tax relief for middle-class families as Senator McCain does. Because in an economy like this one, the last thing we should do is raise taxes on the middle class. I'm going to reform our health care system so we can relieve families, businesses, and our economy from the crushing cost of health care. We'll invest in new technology. We'll invest in preventive care so people aren't going to the emergency room for treatable illnesses like asthma and diabetes. If you have health care, my plan will lower your premiums, will work with your employer. If you don't have health care, you'll be able to buy the same kind of coverage that members of Congress give themselves. We'll reduce costs for businesses and their workers by picking up the tab for some of the most expensive illnesses and conditions, because that's how we'll make our companies more competitive in the 21st century. And I am going to make sure that we tell the insurance companies to cut it out. You know, my mother died of cancer when she was 53 years old, and that was hard enough. But to watch her on a hospital bed arguing with insurance companies because they were saying that maybe there's a pre-existing condition, we don't have to pay for your treatment. I know what it's like to see a loved one suffer, not just because they're sick, but because of a broken healthcare system. It is wrong, and it will change when I'm president. We will make them stop discriminating against those who are sick and need care the most.